We are here at Audiovice Live 2024 with Primare and Perlisten. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasalo with Audioholics. We're here with Terry Badalin from Primare. How you doing, Terry?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's the first time meeting you. I'm not very familiar with Primare electronics. I got to sit here, listen to a demo of your electronics mixed in with the Perlisten speakers. You created some magic in a non-ideal environment. Maybe you could give us a little rundown of what Primare is all about, where you guys are based out of. What we're looking at here, because we have an 11-channel processing, 9-channel amplification, AVR, you've got a CD player, and then we have this with the Perlisten R5T towers, and the new massive big dog R18 subwoofers. All this system was integrated with bass management in a 2.1. I didn't even know we were listening to subwoofers. To me, it just sounded like a full range system. And that's really what you're trying to go after, right? You don't want to hear the subwoofer satellite separation. You want to have full integration. So why don't you give us a rundown of what we're listening to today?
Okay, first I'll start with Primare. We are based in Malmo, Sweden, which is the southernmost point of Sweden, right across from Copenhagen. We've been around for almost 40 years now. And one of the things that informs all of our designs is a Swedish concept called lagom, which simply means not too much, not too little, everything in balance and proportion. So it means that we try to reach a goal of providing the best possible experience for the greatest number of people. And as it relates to that, then, you look at some of our products and you will notice that we have eliminated all non-essential features and functionalities. It has to contribute to better performance or it is rejected. It is not part of our design. And the simplest way to express what lagom means for our designs is we only use 3 feet. 3 feet to find a plane, it means you immediately put the product on a table and it is stable. 4 feet, one too many. It could even be a little bit wobbly on 4 feet if you have an uneven surface. And the most important thing, because we're very cost conscious, we use 25% less feet, so 25% less feet cost, so that we can take that money and put it into quality construction, quality parts, and making sure that the products perform at their utmost level while still keeping our prices reasonable. We believe in Class D amplification. We believe in power supply as being the foundation to any design, be it an amplifier, processor, preamplifier, phono stage. And then we also make sure that we use ultra short signal paths. And of course, that's where Class D comes in to help us in that effort to have virtually wireless circuitry within all of our designs to avoid the kind of noise pickup that can happen when you're using wired connection.
So let's step back for a minute, because there's a lot of audiophiles that are still resistant towards Class D amplification as being high fidelity. There's some audiophiles that are resistant to using subwoofers in a 2-channel system. This blows those myths out of the water, because number one, Class D is at the point now where we're SOTA, state-of-the-art performance. In fact, in many cases, good Class D design is better than linear. You could get such low distortion levels, you get load invariance, which means that it'll sound consistently good no matter what loudspeaker load it drives. Now in this case, you're using a Hypex module, and you guys know I've bench tested Hypex. It does really well on the bench. You guys are doing something a little different though. You're not using the OEM off-the-shelf power supply, right? You're doing your own power supply on this?
Well, most definitely. We have a very gifted power supply designer, and we tasked him with coming up with a power supply that worked most effectively with the Hypex modules, particularly in the context of a variety of system configurations. So while we rate the product at 90 watts per channel, all 9 channels driven, it will deliver 145 watts to any of the speakers that demand it, up to 810 watts. So in the case of our 2-channel system here, we're delivering 145 watts per channel because the power supply understands that there's no other demand, and it's able to deliver in a way then that the Hypex modules can take advantage of that.
And that's at 8 ohms, right?
And that's at 8 ohms, right. But we make sure that with the design, as you're talking about this kind of adaptive load capability, we make sure our designs can work into a 1 ohm impedance load, because you have all kinds of things that will happen in any custom home installation or theater installation of any kind that may mean that you will have lower impedances that other amplifiers may not be comfortable with. And we just find that Class D has far too many advantages for us to use any other topology.
It runs cool, it's efficient, you get more power delivery with multiple channels driven. The other advantage of having a really good, stable SMPS on Class D is because it's so efficient, you could have a regulated power supply, which gives you stable voltage to that amplifier no matter what load it's driving.
And some people have concerns about noise because they kind of associate switch mode with the wall warts we use for computer peripherals.
Right.
But a really high quality design like the ones we use, an APFC auto power factor control, means that we literally have elements in the design to counteract any noise that the power supply might generate. So they're ultra low noise, providing immense levels of power a linear supply really can't deliver into serving a Class D module. It's the only choice, it's the only option. You just have to be rigorous in your design to make sure you get the most out of whatever module you're using.
Well, I could tell you just from listening, first of all, when I sat down, I'm not familiar with your electronics, so forgive me. I didn't know we were listening to an AVR. I thought it was an integrated amp.
Thank you.
I really did. I mean, I thought it was an integrated amp. I thought it was interesting that you chose to power this system with an AVR and not a dedicated integrated amp. And that's a testament to the quality of it because it means to me that you guys are taking music as seriously as you take cinema.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we really believe that you need to be able, in a system like this, to be able to listen to virtually any source that you want. It really should not be a limiting factor. You should be able to listen to it all. And so this division between music and movies we find to be quite artificial. It shouldn't happen at all. And in fact, if anything, movies are more difficult to reproduce than music. So why music might be valued higher than movies never has really made sense to us. And so it's all sound, and we need to produce it with the highest level of fidelity that we can.
So this AVR we have here, give me a breakdown of some of the features. It has Dolby Atmos, DTSX. Does it have any type of room correction on it?
It has Dirac. We provide it with the limited bandwidth. You have the option, obviously, to go to full bandwidth if you want. We find most effective use of Dirac to be at the 500 hertz and below.
Limiting it to 500 hertz makes a lot of sense in most cases because you're dealing with the room transition frequency and below.
Exactly.
When you have a speaker that's incredibly linear as the Perlisten R5T or any of their products in general, and I've done this in my own home, I have the Perlisten S7Ts. I limited it to about 4 or 5 kilohertz. I didn't need any room correction above even that level because the speakers integrate so well in the room. They have such good off-axis behavior. You don't need a lot of EQ. Maybe you need a little shelving filter depending on your room acoustics. That's about all you would really need. But when you have speakers like this that are incredibly linear, low distortion, you don't need to over EQ. And I think there's a lot of people that just want to go all the way to 20K. And in some cases that can make things worse.
And the other thing too about the Perlistens, not to get off of Primare, but I love how they integrate with our product, is that because of the really unique design of that DCP array, their tweeter mid-range array, and because of their very careful control of dispersion in the room, you're able to do acoustic equalization so more effectively than with other designs that you really then make the system work much more easily, both with the electronics in the room itself than you otherwise might. And so that's another feature to consider when you're putting your system together.
Yeah, my experience with a speaker like this is even if you're not in an acoustically controlled environment, like in my system, my reference system in my family room, I don't have the ability to do a lot of room treatments because it's open to a kitchen. The DPC array limits the vertical dispersion, so it just works really well in those kind of environments. If you have a higher RT60 decay time in your room, I found these speakers just give you precise imaging. When I was listening here, I heard very precise imaging. I heard a very strong phantom center. We listened to a variety of tracks, and I can't remember some of the stuff because you were playing a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
But I really like that Fink track that we were listening to.
And the beautiful thing about that live recording is it gives you this sense of space.
Right.
And so you get the sense of the hall that he's performing in. And that's really augmented by having subwoofers in the system, in a 2-channel system. It worked really well. And then you can switch to something like the Fog we played from Parov Stelar.
Yes, I like that
where it's more of an EDM, a dance track, but they've done such a careful job of articulating the bass notes within this kind of thumping, driving dance track that make it far more articulate. And above that then floats this wonderful atmospheric kind of ambient sound in which a singer sings both kind of naturally and in a sort of distortion that complements the basic structure of that track. And then we did something too, it's been kind of a favorite of mine, Till Brönner, who's a German trumpet player, and he did a duo set with a bass player. So we had the big concert hall with Fink. We had the large kind of almost dance room effect, dance hall effect with the EDM track called the Fog. And then we got really close with Brönner and his microphone, with the trumpet in his microphone in a way that was really quite remarkable. I thought anyway.
Well, I thought the same as you, and as my wife as well, because my wife is very sensitive to boomy bass, right? I always have her come into my room and say, how does the bass sound now? And if she says it's good, then I know it's really well integrated. And that's the first thing she said when you stopped the demo. She's like, the bass didn't blow me away. It felt very nice to her, which is the hugest compliment you could get from an audioholic. And basically, this is my first experience with the R18 subs. These things are massive. That driver looks way bigger than an 18. I think they're being very conservative with the size of it. But the thumping bass was tight and controlled. I don't think you even had direct enabled, right?
Oh, no. We're just using the DSP and the R18. And the joke here is that we're using these big, massive 18-inch subs, but because of the quality of DSP provided in each of these subs by Perlisten, we're able to very easily and very carefully tailor the output of the sub to seamlessly integrate with the main speakers. So my favorite comment throughout the show has been people asking me if the subs are on, which is the best thing I could possibly hear. And then you still then allow them to work with the room and with the speakers in a way that's absolutely sympathetic and provides this kind of organic, coherent sound that you would not get without any of these components. It depends upon all of the elements working together that really will put this together. And the key for us working within this room has been the DSP in the Perlisten subs.
And the huge advantage when you have speakers out into the room away from the front wall is you get what's called speaker boundary interference. You can get really bad dips in the bass region where you can hear it. Having those subs close to those walls solves that problem. And what we heard from wherever we sat, whether it was the front row, the back row, or the side, the bass was evenly distributed. I didn't feel like I had any holes.
It's kind of remarkable, actually. And ordinarily, you would get this buildup of bass, probably a little bit of standing wave. And by using the two subs, even though they may be big, we were able to control them, and they're more evenly able to dissipate the bass throughout the room, so it's even. We've had people sitting in the back rows, in the corners, and really not felt that the bass was in any way overblown or accentuated, but in fact still as linear as it might have been in the main listening position.
You're getting a lot of subwoofer with the R18s. I think the retail on them is $5,000 a piece. You're getting the Perlisten technology, the DSP, the incredible drive mechanics. As you guys know, we reviewed a multitude of Perlisten subwoofers. They have the lowest distortion, lowest group delay that we've seen in subwoofers. And what that translates to is very musical. So it doesn't sound like it's overhanging. It doesn't sound laggy or boomy. Yes, these subwoofers cost more than some of the competition, but they're built to a higher engineering standard. They integrate incredibly well with their towers. I just thought the system with Primare was a really nice 2.1, but obviously you could expand it to 11 channels. So why don't you give us a quick rundown of, we didn't talk about the CD player. It's unusual for an audio company to still be producing CD players in the age of streaming. What is the CD player all about, and why do you have it?
Well, when we were designing this latest generation of Primare products, in order to provide system building options, we've been producing CD players for 20, 25 years. We decided that we still needed to provide CD playback because while people make the assumption with the effortlessness of streaming that it will provide you with the highest level of performance without actually having to do the hard work of building a real high quality network to be able to make and play at the level that you might expect from a direct connected component like a CD player. And so what we found is, much to our surprise, that there's still a very big market for CD players, in particular transports, as people who have really nice DACs already in place, but have found that you can get a little bit more performance buck from your CD than you may say be from streaming. And more too, as people see some of their valued cuts disappear from a streaming service, they realize they better have an alternative backup for those, whether it's a file or whether it's a hard copy of a CD or LP.
Speaking of streaming, how were we streaming into the system? Because you have your iPad here, you were playing, you were using Codebuzz. How were you getting Codebuzz?
We have embedded Codebuzz as well as Tidal into our Prisma network player platform, so into our app. And that allows us to be able to provide gapless playback as well as the highest level of resolution that otherwise isn't offered through the other connection schemes that we've implemented into our Prisma bundle of technologies. So we have AirPlay, we have Chromecast, we have Spotify Connect, and obviously Bluetooth. But what we found is that as we were looking at even the Connect platform from Tidal, that we were better off performance-wise by just embedding those two key streaming services into our application.
So does this app support spatial audio through Tidal, or would I need?
It does not.
So I would need like a separate, like an Apple TV.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
and that's what we recommend.
Okay.
Because, well, and here's the other thing is we don't necessarily feel we need to invent internally everything in-house. That there are other people that are doing great things out there that we can take advantage of and not bear the cost to pass on to our customers. So you've got Apple TV out there that really will provide the best possible experience for that spatial immersive audio.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you dropping the knowledge on all these products. We want to be
pleasure.
taking a closer look at Primare. It looks like really cool electronics. It's definitely different than what you would get from the regular box, right?
Yep.
From the major brands. So Terry, I appreciate you dropping the knowledge on this. I really loved hearing the R18s for the first time. I'll put some affiliate links down below if you guys are interested in purchasing any of this equipment. We really appreciate your support on that. If you like this video, please hit the thumb up, hit subscribe. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Audioholics. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to me if you want to suggest video topics. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.